Hello everyone and welcome. Sit back, relax, make a cup of tea or whatever you like to drink and get ready for new stories from Yellowcat. Send your own favorite stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. So subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet. Let's get started. Have you ever had a moment where you thought, I don't get paid enough for this S? What'd you do? Part 2. In the mid to late 90s, I was doing field warranty service for a major computer manufacturer, which amounted to driving out to your office with parts to fix your computer when it breaks. Due to my skill set and aptitude for picking up new technology, I worked my way up the ladder from lowly position doing routine break/fix work on desktops and laptops to server/cluster/enterprise support. The 24-hour SLA team asked me to be part of their on-call rotation, and they incentivized it so well that it made sense. The team suffered numerous setbacks during the ensuing few months. After making a huge mistake, one of the guys was forbidden from going back to one of our main support locations. After experiencing a rather serious medical condition, one of the guys was placed on FMLA/short-term disability leave. Before long, the third person left the company, leaving just the three of us to handle calls. I am currently following a 1 week on/1 week off schedule. We had enough workers to handle the regular service tickets during the day, so I did this for a while. If you worked through the night, you could take the next day off without affecting productivity because someone else would handle your tickets. The benefit vanished after they lost a lot more people. It didn't matter what time you left the office the previous evening, you were expected to pick up parts and handle tickets in the morning. As usual, I began work on Monday morning at 8 a.m. during my final week of being on call. At 4 p.m., I received an urgent call from one of our major government installations telling me they needed to replace a bad hard drive before their RAID array failed. I replaced the drive and started the rebuilding process after going over to meet the part there. While I'm seated, a different array experiences a failed drive. I then receive another call after hours when they report it. All through the night, this "we're all going to break" game went on to the point where I drove back to my office from the facility wearing the same clothes I had on the day before. I picked up all of my tickets for the day, took a shower at home, and left. Tuesday at 4 p.m., the person in charge of our government customers area leaves for home, and I start receiving emergency calls once more. I left their facility just in time to drive back to the office and pick up my tickets for the day. So it's just like the previous night. I dozed off at a red light on a busy road while traveling from my house to my first destination of the day. I had been sitting there through 3 light changes and minutes of people honking their horns at me, the guy who was banging on my window informed me. After driving to the closest convenience store, I purchased 3 Red Bulls and began making calls. I called the office to inform them that I'd be taking the remainder of the day off, finish the first trip since I was almost there anyhow, and postpone the remaining tickets until tomorrow. I was instructed to go straight to the manager's office the following morning. Upon getting into the office, I was thoroughly chewed out for failing to make it to my scheduled appointments, for failing to provide the coverage that I had committed to, and for putting people out as they had to cover for me. I told my manager that it would not happen again. Firstly, because I was unvolunteering for after-hours coverage. Secondly, because I was tendering my 2 weeks' notice, effective immediately. Thirdly, because I was going to go ahead and take the rest of the week off as I had already worked 50 hours for the week by the time I called them the day before. That was 15 years ago, and I have never once regretted that decision, even though it did take almost 5 months to find another job after leaving there. Backstory. First real office job after college. I was a salaried employee for the first time in my life. We were hired by Motorola to run their call center plants and facilities. The fact that there were 7 people working in the call center when I was hired is important. We were in charge of 7 sites in 4 to 5 states. Every kind of Motorola employee called us. They said things like, "Please have worker X bring boxes to my cube for a move," and "The urinal in the men's room on the 6th floor has a very small leak." We took care of all calls about properties like plumbing, HVAC, box delivery, moving people, and more. I was promoted to supervisor after 5 months because I literally tripled the workload of the other employees. In fact, my current supervisor and his boss told me to answer fewer calls because I was working too hard. I was just much more efficient than the other workers. The other workers were envious because they had all been there for more than 2 years and hadn't been promoted yet. But I did 3 work orders for every one they sent in, so I earned it. Over the next 2.5 years, they kept cutting my team down because I was so good at what I did. Every week and every month, I had to turn in a huge number of reports, some with tens of thousands of data sets. I couldn't spend as much time on the phone because it took so much time, and I was a god at Excel at the time. In the end, our team was just me and one other guy. The other guy couldn't do half of what I was supposed to do, so I had to do most of it. He would complain that he had to answer all the calls every day, which was true some of the time. He said I didn't work hard enough. I would go home for lunch every day and look out the window of my 18th floor apartment and think about whether I should jump. I begged them to hire someone else, and they finally did. She was terrible. The older woman clearly didn't get it because she wasn't going to last and used computers all the time. The last day of work was the day my longtime coworker was absent. It was just the new lady and me. She took 1 call for every 10 I made. It didn't matter that I was pretty much the only person working in the call center and having to get their reports done along with everything else. They wanted them yesterday. I had been getting ready to leave for weeks. All my personal files were off of my computer, and I slowly took down my pictures from my desk so that there was nothing but normal office stuff there. It was like a scene from a movie. I put my phone on hold so that calls would just pile up, walked over to my boss's desk, and he asked, "What are you doing? There are about 5 calls in line that need to be answered." I looked him straight in the eyes and threw my badge on his desk. There were no F's given. He laughed in a cocky, "I own you" way and told me, "Nope, you can't do this." I told him I just did, and I started to leave. "You know what you're doing?" he asked when he caught up to me. I told him I did, and he led me out. Someone I've worked with for a long time told me he was mad at me at first for leaving him to do the work, but that they hired 6 more people within 2 weeks and taught everyone how to do those other jobs. He also went on to tell me how wrong he had been about the workload I was under. He said he thought I was just surfing the internet all day, but after I left, he had to do it all and simply couldn't keep up, so he understood why I quit. I got to keep my sanity, and the place became a much more organized and better ran facility. I don't answer phones anymore. I hate phones to the point that I will not call anyone for anything. Ordering a pizza, if it cannot be done online and no one else will order it, I go hungry. Those who managed to get their bosses fired, how'd you do it? Part 2. IT. Boss was completely out of his depth. All he knew about IT was the S he learned as a basic help desk person back when they white-boxed, custom-built PCs instead of buying them from a vendor with a support contract. When I came in, IT was being run like it was 40 years ago, complete with no firewalls at remote sites on an MPLS with dedicated T1s. No routers either, so there wasn't the ability for someone to watch YouTube, and an exec walking in with an iPhone that connected to Wi-Fi, if they even had Wi-Fi, would overload the circuit trying to download an Amazon movie for the next plane ride. It's normal for companies to hire a third party to review processes in the department periodically, especially IT in industries that are regulated. If you're worth F all as an IT person, you cooperate and share the bad. I can complain about compliance all I want and be ignored. Same message from the people you're paying upwards of $500,000 to? That gets heard. Just make sure your S is in order and you're a consummate professional and competent. Then those are opportunities instead of a stressor about losing your job. Anyway, few months later, he amicably parted after nearly 20 years, but I'm told it was directly because of the assessor's findings. Frankly, he should have just had the balls to quit on his own. He was having these stress-caused fainting spells because he knew how out of his depth he was. I understand he is actually much happier now. Also got money for the projects we wanted. Win-win. Edit. Even got to hire my new boss, which was interesting, so win-win-win. Holy moly, an Ask Reddit I can contribute to. This all happened last week. For fear that HR will see this, I don't want to say which company I work for. I'm a key holder for a big store. A hint, we sell video games and have a store in every state. In any case, at the start of February, I was moved from one of the better stores in our district to another one. A manager at the store I was going to was known to steal things and harass coworkers, which caused problems. She was bothering both men and women. It was awful. In any case, she was fired for a good reason, and I was brought in to replace her. But this story isn't about her. This story is about her replacement, who used to be my boss. We'll call him Mac. In 2 months, Mac made another manager cry more than once. She was 19 years old, threatened to punish a coworker for being 20 minutes late. He told us to lie about the products we had in stock and not send customers to other stores that were part of our company. No one else could make the sale if he couldn't. He also told us to lie about repair shops so he could buy broken goods and sell them. He also told someone that they ruined his birthday because they couldn't cover one day so he could leave early. The worst part was that none of us got lunch because he didn't have the hours. Lunch is given to every other store in the chain. Also, in our state, you can't work more than 5.5 hours straight without a break for lunch. Again, all of this happened in 2 months. How do I fire him? At the store, each of us wrote statements and gave them to a trusted store leader. That leader then gave them to our district head. After about a week, our district head comes to my store to look into Mac's leadership. It's all true. I show him screenshots of the schedule that doesn't have any lunch breaks and how he told us not to send customers to other stores in his district. Mac didn't come back this week, and now currently I'm waiting on a new promotion to a different store, so it's worked out for the most part. I worked in a plant that made materials that come into contact with food with a small research and development team. The new boss of R&D was a jerk that upper management chose to be their pet and make R&D do what they said. To make a long story short, there was a problem in the plant that was caused by higher-ups, and our boss is called in to fix it. He chose to use a chemical in one part of the process. It works, but I told him that he couldn't just walk into the plant and start pouring chemicals into tanks. Check with regulatory, talk to our OU rep about adding this to our Schedule A so that we can keep our kosher status and so on. That was the last thing I knew about it. I was kicked off the project because the chemical is dangerous, not kosher, and shouldn't be added to things that come into contact with food. But the new boss wanted to make a name for himself, so he and the people above him planned to add the chemical anyway. He said that it was being used by accident, turned red, and said, "Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Let's test the product. All you have to do is look away from the computer screen and check the little box that says fine. Are we okay?" It was the last straw for me. I didn't want to go to prison for this guy because everyone hated him right away. I printed out all of my emails and letters, as well as PowerPoint presentations and Excel sheets that I had saved on the server. These documents all showed that they knew they were breaking the law by putting this chemical into our products. The next day, I called in sick, went to see a lawyer, and gave him all the papers. The next day, I gave copies to our OSHA rep and then quit at HR. The HR person told me straight out, "Look, I know I shouldn't say this, but we've been looking for a reason to fire this guy. Is there anything you can give us?" I gave him the lawyer's card and told them to get in touch with OSHA. I told this guy everything, how he harassed women and said things about them when he thought no one was listening. One time, he came to work high on pills after surgery and almost got hit by a forklift. "If we get rid of this guy today, will you stay on?" they asked, but I just wanted to leave at that point. Moving away and getting a much better job changed my life, but I stayed in touch with my old R&D friends. 2 other people quit because they couldn't take his crap any longer after I did. Soon after, he was fired, along with the plant manager who gave the go-ahead for the chemical to be used. I was told that the lawyer and OSHA's actions really made the difference in the end. I have so many stories about how horrible of a guy he was and all the stupid he would do. We lost a lot of big customers because he messed up every big R&D project we worked on with him. If you want to watch the part 1, click the link here. Thank you for subscribing, the likes, and comments. We're very happy to see you all in the comments too. Thanks for support.